Welcome to Violin Adventures number 190. That means we only have 9 episodes left before the grand 200th. Don't forget to send me pictures of whatever you're working on, and it doesn't have to be related to music, just anything. Okay, we're going to jump into this episode. We're working on 2 violins and some fun tidbits. So here we go. Okay, we're working on our 1800's violin, and I'm getting a new batch of glue going so that when we finally get this neck ready, it'll have a strong hold. Well, this was a chip out before we even repaired the button. Then on this side is another chip out, and so these probably happened when the neck gave way. I've had so much trouble with the glue, so it's in there, but in the meantime I'm going to get this neck ready so that when the glue is ready, the neck will be ready. And then the length is off right now and this angle. So that is what I'm working on. Okay, it is still morning. We have the neck ready to go in. The dimensions are now on point, and we have some glue that is sticky and ready to go. I ended up cooking this glue for at least 4 hours. We're going to let that sit for 24 hours, and then we'll see. We'll probably need to get pegs, a new bridge, a new sound post, and get this set up and see what it's going to sound like. So I'm giving this fingerboard just a little bit of a polish so it's nice and smooth. It doesn't need too much, but alright, I'm here working on the setup, and I got a nice bridge cut, and then I'm going to the sound post. And the sound post that was in here was just a dowel. And I've seen this before. Somebody must go down to the store and just buy dowels. Well, that's not going to work. And this one may not be store-bought, but it looks like it might be a little piece of maple. Well, here's the problem. First of all, you don't want this hard piece of wood hitting against the top of your violin, because your top is made out of spruce. So when you get a sound post, it has to always be a very special piece of tone wood, spruce tone wood. Because when you think about it, this whole area of the violin is dancing up and down, and the sound post is dancing up and down. And you can really cause cracks if you have a really hard piece of wood. So I got my gavel out, and I say, no dowels in a violin, no dowels for a sound post. Okay, we have the Seidel violin all set up. So with this one, we have a new bass bar, new bridge and sound post, new pegs, and new strings. So we're going to see what this sounds like. Okay, it has volume, but I don't feel the vibrations, so I am going to make an adjustment to the sound post and come right back. Well, it's a new day. I made a couple adjustments. Now I'm feeling the vibrations coming through. So we'll play it here so you can hear it. Is very pleasant. It has a good strength to it, and you can dig in and really give it more power if you'd like. So it has a good range of sound. Play Shalom at the end of the video with this violin. Also, we have more work to do. We've got to do the varnish touch-up on here. Our cello professor, Jasinski, has just put in the channel for the purfling, and here he's putting in the very first purfling, and he's doing a great job.
And we teach it a lesson?
Yes. There you go, that's it.
Look at that go in there.
Okay, while we're waiting for the glue to cook, we've got another violin here. This is a Czech violin, and I was looking at the neck graft, and yes, it is a real graft. And they did a really nice job on it. It's interesting that this scroll is extra long and very skinny. Also, what's interesting is that there's no upper nut, and that this fingerboard goes all the way up in place of where the nut goes. So I'll need to take the fingerboard off and put in a proper nut so that the tuning of the strings can be. The neck is extra long, so we'll see if we can balance that out by putting in a little longer upper nut. But at this point, we want to open this up. This is the one that doesn't have its lower block in there, but we have the lower block here. So let's open this up and see what we find inside this interesting violin. Okay, we've got the violin open, and it's repaired by H.C. Middlebrook in 1896, and I agree with that date because this violin is definitely probably early 1800s. First, let's look at the top. And you can just see, if you can see how very, very close these grains are. If I were to count them, they would be really hard to count because they are so close together. But just lovely grain that is so close together, and it's harder and harder to get this kind of wood. This says 1896, and he put his initials on these beautiful corner blocks that he did. He did all of them, and they're beautifully done. It appears that maybe he took out the label that was in here, so he probably felt it wasn't a true label. So what I'm going to do is get this end block in and get the ribs stabilized. That'll be our first test. And last night I went through and just closed up any of the cracks. So there was one here on the side, top and the bottom. Now when I tap it, it's got some tone, which is great. Oh, there's different kind of glue on this because it is, oh wow. Okay, this came off very easily because there is some kind of different glue on here. Get this glue off because it's not the best. It's not bad. It's not very strong, but it didn't have a good adhesion to the wood, and we want really good adhesion. So, all right, let me show you something unique about this violin. This is the neck. See how that's put in there? And whoever did that did a beautiful job, and I'm thinking we'll just leave this and I'll make the adjustment on the fingerboard and everything will come out just fine. Now looking at the fingerboard, so here's the fingerboard, and this white appears to be some kind of paste. So I'm wondering if the fingerboard had a lot of imperfections in it, and so they filled it with paste and then painted it black. But I think we'll want to get a new fingerboard. We don't want to have any kind of fillers on our violins. What we're doing now is I cleaned up around the edges, and we're going to re-glue the ribs that are loose and then put in the bottom block. We've got the main clamping done. Now I'm going to go into detailed clamping. I'll bring the camera up, but I don't know how much you'll get to see because I got to concentrate on this. Well, hopefully we got enough clamps on there. We'll let that dry. I'm going to clean up all the glue so it's nice and clean in there. Okay, it's time for the gavel. Remember, always use hide glue. Now we've got another problem. On a violin, you never use wood filler or any filler of any kind. You always use pure wood. So we have here this fingerboard that has some kind of feeler, and then it's painted over it with black. Then we have this violin, which I'm working on, and it had a chip out up here on the close to the neck in the top. So did I use wood filler? No, we use a little piece of wood, we fit it in there. Never use wood filler of any kind. So here's an example. There's a little chip out here on the block, So I'm going to take some nice fresh glue that's clean and then put in a good fitting piece of wood right there. To be aware of on your violins is if you have a chin rest that clamps on the side here, there's no block here, and so over the years this causes the ribs to buckle. 100 years of it sitting there, it just causes the rib to buckle. So you want to get a chin rest that clamps right here in the area of the lower block, and then the chin rest goes over to the side, but it's clamping here where there's a block, and then the rib won't buckle like that. Okay, it's story time out of the Anecdotes of Great Musicians, and we're reading number 181, Haydn's Reception by Prince Esterhazy. Haydn spent some time in the service of Count Matzen, a wealthy noble. At an entertainment given by the latter, there was present Prince Esterhazy, whose wealth and station exceeded that of his entertainer. During the evening, there was playing a symphony by Haydn, which so delighted the prince that he determined to take its composer into his service. So he sent word to Haydn to come to his palace. At the appointed time, Haydn appeared before the august personage. The prince glanced carelessly at the slight figure that stood before him and said, "Is this then the composer of the music I heard last night? A Moor, I should judge by his complexion." The composer blushed in embarrassment. "And you write such music? You do not look it. Haydn? Haydn? I recollect the name, and I believe I was told that you were not well paid for your labors." "I have not been fortunate, your highness. Well, you shall have no reason to complain in my service. My secretary shall fix your appointments and name whatever else you desire. Understand me, for all of your profession find me liberal. Now then, Sir Moor, you may go. And let it be your first care to provide yourself with a new coat, a wig, and buckles, and heels to your shoes. I will have you respectable in appearance as well as in talents. So let me have no more shabby professors. And do your best, my little dusky, to recruit in flesh. 'Twill add to the stature, and to relieve your olive with a shade of the ruddy. Such spindle masters would be a walking discredit to our larder, which is truly a spendthrift one." So sayingly, he laughingly dismissed the humble musician. But today, who knows aught of that proud prince, as compared with the fame of that same Joseph Haydn? Well, that's all for this time. Next week, we'll have another anecdote or story. Freddie has to chat.
Hi, I'm Freddie, and I got my blanket because I was sleeping in the night, and all of a sudden there was a huge crash. It was so loud that it woke me up, and it scared me a whole bunch, and so I'll show you pictures of what happened, but it was in the music room, and a shelf came down, and it was terrible.
Yes, just like Freddie said, the shelf fell down with a huge bang and all the instruments crashed to the ground. Thankfully, no instruments were damaged, but the harp did sustain a soundboard.
Well, I'm so glad that it all got fixed, and now I can sleep again. But I wanted to tell you what happened. That was so exciting this last week. Well, don't forget to send in all your projects for the 200th episode. I'm all excited about it. Bye!
Well, I've got my fresh hide glue here because what we have here are a couple cellos that I had in the showroom, but their seams opened up right down here on the bottom, just below the top plate. And I've had a couple cellos come in also with the same problem, so it's probably the change in weather. So you want to check your cellos. I've also got a viola, the same thing, where the seam has opened right in this area. So we're going to go ahead and close those up real quick. The Hebrew minute. Hallelujah b'minim v'ugav. Praise the Lord with strings and organ, or this could also be translated pipes. If you know where this is found, please leave it in the comments below. Well, it's Friday, a warm week we've had. Let's go inside where it's cool. Here we are in the shop. This is the old Czech violin from the 1800s. We've got the block in. And next is the bass bar. Over here is the Seidel violin from the 1800s. We've got it set up. It's sounding good. And next we'll just work on the touch-up. And over here is the professor's cello. He's got the C-bouts in, and next we'll do the outsides. And here's our little pochette just hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your wonderful comments. Thank you for the thumbs up. And thank you to the new subscribers. And don't forget, send me pictures or video of any project that you're working on. No matter what it is, it'll be fun to see what you are doing for our 200th episode. Well, until next time, bye.